The summer of lemonade dreams. The sun hung high in the clear Indiana sky, its golden rays bathing the quiet streets of Oak Ridge Heights in warmth. 11-year-old Kiara Daniels stood proudly behind her lemonade stand, her smile as vibrant as the hand-painted sign she had crafted the night before. The bright letters spelled out Kiara's lemonade, 50c/ a cup, and were surrounded by cheerful doodles of lemons and hearts. Each stroke of the brush told a story of her excitement, her determination, and her big dreams. Her stand was strategically placed in the shade of the sprawling oak tree in front of her family's small, cozy home. The house, though modest, had a welcoming charm. Its white walls gleamed in the sunlight, and the neatly trimmed lawn spoke of the care her mom, Tasha, poured into their space. Today, however, was all about Kiara's lemonade stand, a labor of love and hope. She had spent the early morning squeezing fresh lemons, measuring sugar, and stirring until her arms were sore. This was no ordinary lemonade stand. This was her ticket to joining her class on an upcoming field trip to the Indianapolis Zoo. The idea of the field trip had been buzzing in her mind for weeks. Her teacher had spoken about exotic animals, conservation efforts, and the wonders of nature waiting to be explored. But the trip came with a $50 price tag, and Kiara knew her mom couldn't afford it on her own. Tasha worked long hours at a local diner, making ends meet with quiet resilience. So, Kiara had decided to take matters into her own hands. "This is going to work," Kiara had told herself confidently, watching her mom slice lemons with precision that morning. "It will, baby," Tasha had replied, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You're going to do great." Now, as Kiara adjusted the pitcher of lemonade on the small wooden table, her heart swelled with a mixture of nerves and excitement. The first customer of the day was none other than Mrs. Andrews, their elderly neighbor who always had a kind word to share. "Well, don't you look like a young entrepreneur?" Mrs. Andrews said, handing over 2 quarters. She sipped her lemonade and smiled. "Delicious, Kiara. You're going to be sold out before you know it." "Thank you, Mrs. Andrews." Kiara beamed, her confidence growing. The morning passed smoothly. Cars slowed as they drove by, some honking in encouragement, others stopping to purchase a cup. Kids playing basketball across the street paused to glance her way, and even a dog walker stopped to chat while enjoying the refreshing drink. By noon, Kiara's notebook showed she had made $12.50, more than she had dared to hope for in just a few hours. Her mom stepped outside, bringing her a wide-brimmed hat. "How's my superstar doing?" Tasha asked, her voice full of pride. "Pretty good," Kiara replied, tying the hat securely under her chin. "I think I'm getting the hang of this." As the two shared a laugh, the distant sound of engines disrupted the peaceful scene. It was faint at first, like the purr of a cat, but grew louder with each passing second. Kiara squinted down the street, shielding her eyes from the glare of the sun. A group of motorcycles roared into view, their chrome glinting like polished mirrors. There were 8 of them, their engines growling like thunder as they approached. Each rider wore a leather jacket adorned with patches, their helmets obscuring their faces. The sound was overwhelming, drowning out the chatter of the neighborhood kids and the birds chirping in the oak tree above. One by one, the motorcycles rolled to a stop right in front of Kiara's lemonade stand. The air seemed to stand still. The basketball game across the street halted, its players staring wide-eyed. Mrs. Andrews peeked through her lace curtains, her face a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Even Tasha, who rarely showed fear, stiffened on the porch. Kiara's heart pounded in her chest as the largest biker swung his leg off his motorcycle. His jacket was covered in patches, some depicting flames, others with words Kiara couldn't decipher. His beard was thick and gray, and when he removed his helmet, his face was surprisingly kind despite its weathered appearance. "Is this where I can find the best lemonade in town?" he asked, his voice deep and gravelly, but holding a hint of humor. For a moment, Kiara was too stunned to respond. Then, summoning her courage, she managed a small smile. "Yes, sir," she said. "It's 50 cents a cup." The man chuckled, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a crumpled dollar bill. "Make it 2, he said, placing the bill gently on the counter. Kara's hands trembled as she poured the lemonade. She tried her best to steady herself, her thoughts racing. Who were these people? What did they want? Were they dangerous? The man took a sip, his expression unreadable. Then, with a nod, he said, "Not bad, kid. What's your name?" "Kiara," she said softly, glancing at her mom for reassurance. "Well, Kiara," he said, raising his cup, "you've got a new customer base." The other bikers laughed, their voices booming. One by one, they dismounted their motorcycles and approached the stand. Their jackets bore designs of skulls, eagles, and flames, and their boots thudded heavily against the pavement. To Kira's surprise, their demeanor was anything but intimidating. They joked with each other, complimented her colorful sign, and pulled out their wallets to buy lemonade. "I'll take 10 cups for the crew." A tall woman with long braided hair and a jacket that read "Sherry" said, dropping a $5 bill on the counter. Kira blinked in disbelief. 10 cups, she repeated. Sherry laughed. "You heard me, kid. And keep the change." As Kara scrambled to pour the lemonade, the bikers began chatting like old friends. They shared stories, clinked their cups together in cheers, and even took turns holding up her hand-painted sign for passing cars to see. The initial tension melted away, replaced by a sense of camaraderie that filled the street with laughter and warmth. One of the younger bikers crouched down to Kira's level. "What's the lemonade fund for, anyway?" he asked, his brown eyes twinkling with curiosity. Kira hesitated before replying. "I'm saving up for a school trip to the zoo." The group let out a collective awe, and Sherry shook her head with a smile. "Well, we can't just leave you hanging, can we?" she said. Before Kara could respond, one of the bikers removed his helmet and began passing it around. "Donation time, folks," he called out. Coins and bills clinked and crinkled as they filled the helmet. When it returned to Sherry, she handed it to Kiara with a grin. "That should cover your trip," she said. Kiara peeked inside the helmet and gasped. It was overflowing with cash, far more than she had ever imagined making in a single day. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you so much." The leader raised his cup in a mock toast. "Hard work deserves support," he said. The group cheered, their voices echoing down the quiet street. But just as the mood seemed to settle, one biker, a burly man with an eagle tattoo on his arm, stepped forward. His gaze softened, and his rough exterior seemed to fade. "You remind me of my daughter," he said, his voice quiet and full of emotion. Kara tilted her head. "Your daughter?" The man nodded, a bittersweet smile tugging at his lips. "She passed away a few years ago. She used to love running little stands like this. Seeing you out here, it's like seeing a piece of her again." The street fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Tasha stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on Kira's shoulder. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said softly. The man gave a small nod, his eyes misty. "Helping her out today felt like honoring her memory," he said. "So, thank you." The bikers left shortly after, their engines roaring as they disappeared around the corner. But the impact of their visit lingered, filling the air with a sense of connection and hope. Kara looked down at the helmet filled with cash, then up at her mom. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling with excitement, "do you think they'll tell others about my stand?" Tasha chuckled, her pride evident. "Baby, I think the whole town's about to know." And with that, the little lemonade stand on Oak Ridge Avenue became a symbol of unexpected kindness and the power of community. A surge of support. The following morning, the air around Oak Ridge Heights buzzed with an unusual energy. Kiara woke up to the sound of voices outside her window. Rubbing the sleep from her eyes, she peeked through the curtain and froze in shock. There was a line forming, an actual line, stretching down the sidewalk in front of her lemonade stand. What in the world? She murmured, quickly throwing on a t-shirt and shorts before running to the kitchen. Tasha was already there, calmly stirring a fresh batch of lemonade in a large bowl. Her expression was a mix of amusement and pride. "Morning, superstar," she greeted. "Looks like word travels fast." Kira blinked in confusion. "What do you mean?" Her mom handed her a newspaper folded to an article titled "Biker-Approved Lemonade Takes Oak Ridge Heights by Storm." The headline was bold, accompanied by a photo of Kira standing behind her stand. The group of leather-clad bikers laughing and sipping lemonade in the background. Kira gasped. "How did this get in the paper?" "Mrs. Andrews," Tasha explained. "She sent the story to the local news station. They loved it so much they ran it online last night, and I guess someone picked it up for print." Before Kara could process the news, the doorbell rang. Tasha opened the door to reveal Mr. Harris, the owner of the local grocery store, holding several bags of lemons, sugar, and cups. "Morning, Daniel's family," he said cheerfully. "I heard about yesterday's excitement and figured you might need some extra supplies." Kira's jaw dropped. "Mr. Harris, this is too much. I can't pay for all this." He waved her off with a grin. "Don't worry about it. Consider it my contribution to your cause. Besides, a little birdie told me you've got the best lemonade in town. I want a cup before the crowd drinks it all." Kira's cheeks turned pink with gratitude as Tasha helped carry the supplies into the kitchen. "Thank you so much," Kira said, her voice bursting with excitement. By mid-morning, the line had grown longer, snaking around the corner and onto the next street. Families with children, neighbors, and even strangers who had heard the story online showed up to support Kira's stand. Some came out of curiosity, others with a genuine desire to help. The atmosphere was lively, with kids running around, adults chatting, and the soft clinking of coins in Kira's tip jar. The first major surprise of the day came in the form of a small blue car pulling up across the street. A reporter and a camera operator stepped out, their equipment gleaming in the sun. "Kara Daniels," the reporter called out as she approached the stand. Kira froze. "Oh, yes, Mom." The reporter smiled warmly and extended a hand. "I'm Rachel from Channel 6 News. We'd love to do a quick segment on your lemonade stand. Your story has been inspiring a lot of people." Kira's eyes widened. "You want to put me on TV?" "Absolutely. Would that be okay?" Kira glanced nervously at her mom, who gave her a reassuring nod. "You've got this, baby," Tasha said. The interview was brief but heartfelt. Rachel asked Kira about her lemonade recipe, her motivation for starting the stand, and her reaction to the overwhelming support she had received. Kira, though nervous, answered each question with honesty and a shy smile. "Well, there you have it," Rachel concluded. "A young entrepreneur with big dreams and a community rallying behind her. Stay tuned for more updates on Kira's journey." The camera operator gave Kira a thumbs up before they packed up and left, promising to air the segment that evening. As the day wore on, more familiar faces stopped by. Mrs. Andrews brought a tray of homemade cookies to share with the crowd, earning cheers and gratitude. The basketball kids from across the street took turns holding up hand-painted signs that read, "Lemonade for a Cause," and "Best Lemonade in Indiana." Then came the bikers. The rumble of engines returned in the late afternoon, signaling their arrival. This time, there were more of them, nearly 20 riders, their leather jackets gleaming in the sunlight. Kira couldn't help but grin as Doug, the burly biker with the eagle tattoo, approached her stand. "Hey, kiddo," he said, pulling out a roll of bills. "Figured we'd stop by and see how our investment's doing." "Hi, Doug," Kira said, her excitement bubbling over. "It's going amazing. Look at all these people." Doug glanced around and nodded approvingly. "Told you the word would spread. Looks like you're running the most popular business in town." The other bikers dismounted, mingling with the crowd and sharing stories about their travels. Sherry, the tall woman with braided hair, winked at Kira. Got any lemonade left for us, or are we too late? Kira laughed. Plenty, but I'm not taking any more donations. You guys already gave me so much. Nonsense, Doug said, placing another $50 bill in her tip jar. Consider this an investment in the future. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the energy began to shift. A group of parents suggested turning the gathering into a block party, and within an hour, tables of food and drinks were set up along the street. Someone brought out a speaker, playing upbeat music that had kids dancing and adults tapping their feet. Kira's lemonade stand became the centerpiece of the impromptu celebration. She worked tirelessly, pouring cup after cup and greeting each customer with her radiant smile. Her mom stayed by her side, helping when the line got overwhelming. At one point, Doug approached Tasha, his expression serious but kind. "You've got a good kid there," he said. "She's got heart." Tasha smiled, her pride evident. "Thank you. She's worked so hard for this." Doug hesitated before speaking again. "I wanted to say, I appreciate you letting her talk to me yesterday. It's been a long time since I've felt this kind of hope." Tasha placed a hand on his arm. "You've done more for her than you realize. Thank you for reminding her, and me, how much good there still is in the world." As night fell and the crowd began to disperse, Kira finally had a moment to breathe. She and her mom sat together on the porch, the lemonade stand now empty and the tip jar overflowing. "I can't believe this day," Kira said, her voice tinged with disbelief. Tasha chuckled. "Believe it, baby. You earned every bit of it." Kira's eyes sparkled as she looked at the jar. "Mom, I think we made enough for the zoo trip, and then some." Tasha nodded, her voice soft. "Looks like you've got enough to save for your future, too." Kira leaned against her mom's shoulder, exhaustion mingling with happiness. "I think today wasn't just about lemonade, though." Tasha smiled knowingly. "What do you mean?" "It's about people coming together," Kira said. "It's about kindness and helping each other out. That's what made today special." Tasha kissed the top of her daughter's head. "You're wise beyond your years, Kira." As they sat in the quiet of the evening, the only sound was the distant hum of crickets and the occasional murmur of neighbors still lingering on their porches. For Kira, it was the perfect end to a day she would never forget. Beyond the lemonade, the next morning brought a stillness to Oak Ridge Heights, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of activity that had engulfed the neighborhood the day before. Kira woke up feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The events of the past 2 days swirled in her mind like a dream she couldn't quite believe was real. The bikers, the community rally, the TV crew, everything seemed too surreal. "Kira, breakfast is ready," her mom's voice called from the kitchen. As Kira stepped out of her room, she noticed something unusual on the dining table. Alongside her usual bowl of cereal and orange juice was a neatly folded envelope with her name written on the front in elegant cursive. She glanced at her mom, who was sipping her coffee with a knowing smile. "What's this?" Kira asked, picking up the envelope. "Open it and find out," Tasha said, her tone teasing but warm. Inside the envelope was a card decorated with sunflowers and a simple note. Kiara, your lemonade stand has reminded us all of the power of hard work and community. We wanted to do something special for you. Meet us at the park at noon. Your friends in Oak Ridge Heights. Kiara looked up at her mom, her eyes wide. "Do you know what this is about?" Tasha shrugged, but her smile gave her away. "Guess you'll have to wait and see." By noon, Kara stood at the entrance of Oak Ridge Heights Park, clutching the note in her hand. She wore her favorite yellow dress, the one she said matched the spirit of her lemonade stand. The park was bustling with activity. Kids played on the swings, dogs chased frisbees, and families gathered for picnics. But near the central pavilion, a small crowd had formed, and at the center of it all was Doug, the burly biker with the eagle tattoo. Kira's heart raced as she approached. Doug spotted her and waved, a broad grin spreading across his face. There she is, the star of the neighborhood. The crowd parted as Kiara stepped forward, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment and joy. She recognized familiar faces: Mrs. Andrews, Mr. Harris from the grocery store, the basketball kids, and even Sherry, the tall biker with braids, who was holding a large box wrapped in colorful paper. "What's going on?" Kiara asked, her voice small. Doug stepped forward, his voice booming with excitement. "Well, kiddo, we figured someone like you deserved a little something extra. Open the box." Kiara hesitated for a moment, her hands trembling slightly as she untied the ribbon. The crowd leaned in, their anticipation palpable. As she lifted the lid, she gasped. Inside was a brand new bike, a gleaming yellow cruiser with a basket on the front and streamers dangling from the handlebars. The words "Lemonade Express" were painted in elegant script along the frame. "You earned it," Doug said, his voice softening. "Every great entrepreneur needs the right tools. Now you can take your lemonade anywhere you want." Kiara stared at the bike, her mouth agape. "This is for me." Sherry nodded, her smile beaming. "Yep. A few of us chipped in. We figured you could use it to expand your business. Or just ride it around and enjoy being a kid," Doug added with a chuckle. Tears welled up in Kiara's eyes as she looked around at the faces in the crowd. "I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. I'll take such good care of it, I promise." The crowd erupted into cheers, and someone started clapping, which quickly turned into a rhythmic chant. "Kiara, Kiara, Kiara." After the celebration, Doug and Sherry pulled Kiara aside for a private conversation. They leaned against one of the picnic tables, their expressions more serious but no less kind. "You've got something special, Kiara," Doug began. "That determination you've shown, that kindness you've spread, it's rare." Sherry nodded. "We see a lot of tough things on the road, but meeting someone like you reminds us why we do what we do. Helping people, building communities, that's what really matters." Kiara tilted her head. "You help people a lot." "All the time," Doug said, his voice tinged with pride. "Our group isn't just about riding bikes and looking tough. We organize charity rides, help out families in need, and try to make a difference wherever we go." Sherry chimed in. "When we stopped at your stand, we were on our way back from a fundraiser for a children's hospital. Seeing you reminded us of why we started doing this in the first place." Kiara's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Do you think I could help with something like that?" Doug raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" Kiara nodded firmly. "Yes, if my lemonade stand could make a difference, I want to keep doing it." Sherry grinned. "You've got the heart for it, that's for sure." Doug placed a hand on Kiara's shoulder. "Tell you what, next time we do a charity event, we'll give you a call. How does that sound?" Kiara's face lit up. "Really? That would be amazing." The rest of the afternoon was a blur of joy and laughter. Kiara rode her new bike around the park, the basket loaded with small cups of lemonade she handed out for free. The crowd eventually dispersed, but the impact of the day lingered. As the sun began to set, Kiara and her mom walked the bike home. The warm glow of the sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the quiet streets of Oak Ridge Heights felt more magical than ever. "You know, Mom," Kiara said thoughtfully, "I think this was about more than just raising money for the zoo trip." Tasha smiled knowingly. "Oh, what do you think it was about?" Kiara looked up at the sky, her eyes filled with wonder. "It's about showing people what's possible when you believe in something, and when people believe in you." Tasha wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders. "You're absolutely right. And you've got a whole neighborhood and a group of bikers who believe in you now." As they reached their house, Kiara noticed another envelope taped to their front door. She pulled it off and opened it eagerly. Inside was a simple handwritten note. Asterisk, asterisk, Dear Kiara, thank you for being a light in our community. Never stop dreaming. Doug and the crew, asterisk, asterisk. Kiara clutched the note to her chest, her heart swelling with gratitude. She didn't know where this journey would take her next, but she knew one thing for certain. The world was a little brighter, and her dreams were a little bigger. And it all started with a lemonade stand. A bigger vision. The hum of excitement lingered in Oak Ridge Heights long after the park celebration. By the next week, Kiara's lemonade stand had become the talk of not just her neighborhood, but neighboring communities as well. Cars stopped more frequently on her street, and curious faces would peek out of rolled-down windows, asking, "Is this the famous lemonade stand?" Kiara was elated, but she soon realized she was running into a new challenge, keeping up with the demand. One morning, after struggling to squeeze enough lemons for her day's batch, she slumped into a chair at the kitchen table, her arms aching. "Mom," she sighed, "I love selling lemonade, but I can't keep up. My hands are sore, and I'm running out of supplies faster than I can keep track." Tasha sat down across from her, her gaze thoughtful. "You're scaling up, baby. It's a good problem to have, but it means you'll need to think bigger. Have you thought about asking for help?" Kiara blinked. "Help? Like hiring people?" Tasha chuckled. "Not quite. Start with the community. You've got so many people rooting for you. Why not invite them to be part of your dream?" That afternoon, Kiara crafted a plan. With her mom's help, she printed colorful flyers that read, "Kiara's Lemonade Vision. Help us grow. Volunteers needed. Lemon squeezers. Sign holders. Idea makers. Join us this Saturday at the Oak Ridge Heights Pavilion to brainstorm how we can take this lemonade stand to the next level ****. By the end of the day, the flyers were pinned to community bulletin boards, taped to lampposts, and handed out to neighbors. Kiara even gave one to Doug and the bikers, who had become regular visitors. Saturday arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. At the pavilion, Kiara and Tasha set up a table with pitchers of lemonade and stacks of notepads. Kiara paced nervously as people began to arrive. Kids, parents, elderly neighbors, even a few local business owners. Doug and Sherry rolled up on their bikes, bringing along a few of their crew. Kiara stood on a small stool to address the crowd. "Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming," she began, her voice shaking slightly but growing stronger as she continued. "I started my lemonade stand to earn enough money for a school trip to the zoo, but it's turned into something much bigger. With all your support, I've realized we can do more than just sell lemonade. We can use this stand to make a difference in our community." The crowd murmured in agreement, and Tasha gave Kiara an encouraging nod. "So," Kiara continued, "I'm here today to ask for your ideas. How can we grow? How can we help more people?" For the next hour, the pavilion buzzed with brainstorming. Kids suggested fun ideas like selling cookies alongside lemonade or creating a mobile lemonade cart to bring drinks to the local park. Parents talked about how Kiara's stand could become a symbol for youth entrepreneurship, perhaps even inspiring other kids to start their own small businesses. Doug raised his hand and said, "What if we tied the lemonade stand to bigger causes, like raising money for local charities or hosting community events?" The suggestion sparked immediate interest. Sherry added, "We could do a charity ride and have Kiara's stand as the centerpiece. People love supporting causes that bring folks together." Mr. Harris, the grocery store owner, chimed in. "If you're thinking about expansion, I could supply your ingredients at a discount. It'll save you a lot of time and effort." Kiara's eyes lit up. "Really? That would help so much." Tasha beamed with pride as the ideas kept flowing. By the end of the meeting, they had a clear plan. Kiara's lemonade stand would evolve into a mobile operation, complete with a portable cart donated by a local hardware store. They would partner with Doug's biker crew to host a charity ride in 3 weeks, with all proceeds going to the local children's hospital. The community would pitch in as volunteers to help prepare and sell the lemonade. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of activity. The mobile lemonade cart was painted bright yellow with the words, "Kiara's Lemonade," a sip for hope emblazoned on the side. Doug and his crew coordinated the charity ride, mapping out a scenic route that would end in a large park where Kara's stand would be set up. Kara spent her evenings practicing her public speaking, as she had been asked to give a short speech at the event. "You've got this," Tasha reassured her. "Just speak from your heart." The day of the charity ride dawned bright and sunny. The park was bustling with excitement as hundreds of bikers gathered, their engines roaring like a symphony. Families, neighbors, and even people from nearby towns came to watch the spectacle and support the cause. Kara's stand was stationed at the center of the event, her new mobile cart surrounded by cheerful volunteers wearing yellow t-shirts with the slogan "Lemonade for a Cause." Doug's crew had set up donation boxes, and Sherry worked the crowd, encouraging everyone to contribute. When the bikers took off, the sound was deafening but thrilling. Kiara watched in awe as the line of motorcycles stretched as far as the eye could see. Once the riders were gone, the crowd surged toward her stand, eager to grab a cup of lemonade. By mid-afternoon, the bikers returned, their energy infectious as they shared stories of the ride. Doug approached Kiara with a helmet in hand, the same one they had used to collect donations at her stand weeks earlier. "This is for you," he said, handing her the helmet. "We passed it around during the ride." Kiara's hands trembled as she peeked inside. The helmet was filled to the brim with cash. "All of this?" she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. Doug grinned. "Every penny goes to the children's hospital. You made this happen, Kara." Sherry stepped forward and placed a hand on Kara's shoulder. "You've got a gift, kid. Not just for lemonade, but for bringing people together. Don't ever stop." As the event wound down, Kara took the stage to deliver her speech. She stood nervously in front of the microphone, looking out at the crowd of familiar and new faces. "Hi, everyone," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "I started selling lemonade because I wanted to go on a school trip, but you all turned it into something so much bigger. You taught me that when people come together, we can do amazing things. This isn't just about lemonade anymore. It's about hope, kindness, and making a difference. Thank you for believing in me." The crowd erupted into applause, and Kara felt a swell of pride and gratitude she couldn't put into words. That night, as Kiara and her mom counted the day's donations, they realized they had raised over $5,000 for the children's hospital. Kara stared at the pile of money in disbelief. "Mom," she said softly, "I think this is just the beginning." Tasha hugged her tightly. "It is, baby. You've started something truly special." As Kara drifted off to sleep that night, she dreamed not of lemonade, but of a future where her small stand could change lives. The possibilities were endless, and she couldn't wait to see where her journey would take her next. Dreams turning into purpose. The days following the charity ride felt like a whirlwind of emotions for Kara. The success of the event had not only raised thousands of dollars for the children's hospital, but also solidified her place as a beacon of hope in Oak Ridge Heights. What had started as a simple lemonade stand to fund a school trip had transformed into something much bigger, a movement. Kara's name was on the lips of people in neighboring towns, and her story had even been shared on regional news networks. Kara's heart brimmed with pride. But with that pride came a new sense of responsibility. She knew she had tapped into something special, and she wanted to make sure it wasn't just a fleeting moment. If she could rally a community once, why not again? One afternoon, while sitting on her front porch and sipping her own lemonade, Kiara began jotting down ideas in a notebook. She titled the page, "Dream Big, Kara's Lemonade Projects." Her mom, Tasha, stepped outside with a basket of freshly folded laundry. "Still brainstorming, baby?" she asked, a warm smile on her face. Kara nodded, holding up the notebook. "I was thinking, what if we made this bigger? Not just lemonade stands, but events, fundraisers, maybe even helping other kids start their own projects." Tasha sat down beside her, setting the basket aside. "That's a beautiful idea. But remember, growing something like this will take time and planning." Are you ready for that? Kira's eyes sparkled with determination. I am, Mom. I feel like I've found my purpose. Tasha hugged her tightly. Then I'll be here every step of the way. That evening, Kiara called a meeting with her closest supporters: Doug, Sherry, Mrs. Andrews, Mr. Harris, and a few of the basketball kids from across the street. They gathered in her living room, where Kara had set up a whiteboard with her ideas scrawled across it in colorful markers. Thank you all for coming, Kara began, her voice steady but filled with excitement. I've been thinking a lot about what's next. We've shown what we can do when we come together, but I think we can do even more. Doug leaned back in his chair, a grin spreading across his face. All right, kiddo. Lay it on us. Kara took a deep breath and pointed to the whiteboard. I want to start a foundation, a way to keep helping people in our community. We'll use lemonade sales and other events to raise money, not just for hospitals, but for schools, families in need, and even other kids who want to start their own stands or businesses. The room fell silent for a moment before erupting into applause. Sherry, always quick to encourage, stood up and gave a mock salute. Count me in, Captain Lemonade. Mrs. Andrews beamed. Oh, Kiara, this is such a wonderful idea. Our town could really use something like this. Doug nodded thoughtfully. It's ambitious, but you've got the heart and the team to make it happen. What's the first step? Kiara hesitated for a moment. Well, I'm not sure yet. I was hoping you all could help me figure it out. Over the next hour, the group brainstormed plans. Mr. Harris offered to use his grocery store as a collection point for donations. Mrs. Andrews suggested reaching out to local schools to involve more kids. Sherry proposed creating a social media page to share updates and events. And Doug, he promised to rally his biker crew for future rides, calling them Kara's Road Warriors. By the end of the meeting, the beginnings of the Lemonade Foundation had taken shape. It wasn't official yet, but the vision was clear: to inspire kindness, build community, and create opportunities for those in need. The next morning, Kara woke up to an email notification on her mom's phone. Tasha had been helping her manage all the messages that poured in after the charity ride, but this one stood out. The subject line read, "An invitation for Kiara Daniels." Curious, Tasha opened the email and gasped. "Kiara, come here." Kiara ran into the kitchen, her hands still sticky from squeezing lemons. "What is it, Mom?" Tasha handed her the phone. The email was from a local entrepreneurs organization that hosted an annual Youth Changemakers Gala. They had heard about Kiara's story and wanted her to be a guest speaker at their upcoming event. Kiara read the email twice, her eyes wide. "They want me to talk, in front of a bunch of business people." Tasha knelt down to meet her daughter's gaze. "They want to hear your story because it's powerful, Kara. And it's a chance for you to share your vision for the future." Kira's stomach churned with nerves, but she nodded. "Okay, I'll do it." The weeks leading up to the gala were a blur of preparation. Kara practiced her speech every day, sometimes in front of her mom, sometimes in front of Doug and Sherry. Each time, she grew more confident. The night of the event arrived quickly. Tasha helped Kara into a bright yellow dress with a white cardigan, her hair styled neatly into 2 buns. "You look perfect," Tasha said, tears brimming in her eyes. "Thanks, Mom." Kara replied, taking a deep breath. "I hope I don't mess this up." "You won't," Tasha assured her. "Just speak from your heart." The gala was held in a grand banquet hall, with glittering chandeliers and rows of elegantly set tables. Kara felt small among the crowd of polished adults, but when she stepped onto the stage, she focused on the faces of her mom, Doug, and Sherry, who sat in the front row. "Hi, everyone," Kara began, her voice shaking slightly. "My name is Kara Daniels, and I'm 11 years old. I started a lemonade stand to go on a school trip, but it turned into something much bigger." She shared the story of the bikers, the charity ride, and the overwhelming support from her community. She talked about the lessons she had learned: That kindness is contagious, that one small act can inspire many, and that even kids can make a big difference. I want to use my lemonade stand to help others, she concluded, not just to raise money, but to show people that no matter how small you are, you can still do something big. The room erupted into applause. Kara glanced at her mom, who was clapping so hard it looked like her hands might fall off. Doug gave her a thumbs up, and Sherry wiped a tear from her cheek. After the speech, several people approached Kiara with offers of support. A local bank representative offered to help her set up the foundation officially. A graphic designer volunteered to create a logo, and a teacher asked if Kiara would visit her school to inspire other kids. By the time Kiara and her mom left the gala, her notebook was brimming with new contacts and ideas. In the car ride home, Kiara leaned her head against the window, a small smile playing on her lips. "Mom," she said softly, "I think this is going to be something really special." Tasha reached over and squeezed her hand. "It already is, baby, and it's only the beginning." As the car pulled into their driveway, Kara looked at the small lemonade stand still set up under the oak tree. It was a reminder of where it all began, a humble start that had grown into a vision of hope and purpose. She couldn't wait to see what the future held. A legacy of lemonade. A few months after the gala, Kara's Lemonade Foundation was officially launched. What started as an idea scribbled in her notebook had transformed into a registered nonprofit organization with the mission of inspiring community kindness and empowering young entrepreneurs. The foundation had its own logo, a bright lemon with a heart in the center, symbolizing both joy and giving. Kara's lemonade stand wasn't just a small wooden table anymore. It had evolved into a mobile operation, complete with 2 new carts and a small team of volunteers who helped her at community events, schools, and charity drives. Yet despite the growth, Kara remained true to the heart of her mission, spreading kindness one cup at a time. The first major event under the Lemonade Foundation was something Oak Ridge Heights had never seen before, a community lemonade day festival. Kara and her team envisioned a day where families could come together, not just to drink lemonade, but to learn, celebrate, and support each other. Flyers went up around town, announcements were made in schools, and even the local radio station aired commercials for the event. The festival was held at the same park where the bikers' charity ride had ended. On the morning of the event, the park was transformed into a sea of yellow. Booths lined the walkways, offering everything from homemade lemonade recipes to small business workshops for kids. There was even a booth run by Doug and his biker crew called Lemon on the Road, where they shared stories about their charity rides and sold biker-themed lemonade cups. Kiara arrived early with her mom and the other volunteers to set up. As she looked around the bustling park, she felt a swell of pride. "This is really happening," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. Tasha placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "It's happening because of you, baby. Look at what you've built." As the festival began, families poured in, their excitement palpable. Children raced between booths, clutching lemonade cups and brightly colored balloons. Kara's stand quickly became the centerpiece of the event, with a long line forming as people eagerly waited to try her now-famous lemonade. Kara made her rounds, stopping by each booth to thank the volunteers and chat with visitors. At one booth, a group of kids had set up their own mini lemonade stands, each with unique twists like strawberry mint lemonade and honey-infused lemonade. Kara smiled as she watched them excitedly pitch their drinks to passing customers. "This is what it's all about," she said to herself. Around midday, the festival paused for a special presentation. Doug, Sherry, and a few of the bikers took the stage, calling Kara up to join them. Doug, holding a microphone, looked out at the crowd and said, "We've been to a lot of towns, met a lot of people, and seen a lot of great causes. But I can honestly say, this little lady here is one of the most inspiring people we've ever met." The crowd erupted into cheers as Kara blushed and waved shyly. Doug continued, "What Kara has done isn't just about lemonade. It's about showing people what's possible when you work hard, dream big, and bring a community together. So today, we wanted to give her something special. Sherry stepped forward, holding a leather jacket. It was custom-made, with the Lemonade Foundation logo stitched on the back and the words Honorary Road Warrior embroidered on the front. "This is for you, Kara," Sherry said, draping the jacket over her shoulders. "You're officially one of us now." Kara's jaw dropped. "Oh my gosh. Thank you so much," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with emotion. Doug handed her the microphone. "Got anything you want to say to your adoring fans?" Kiara giggled, then took a deep breath. "Thank you, everyone, for believing in me and in this dream. This isn't just my foundation. It's ours. Together, we've shown what kindness and hard work can do, and I promise to keep working to make our community and the world a better place, one cup at a time." The crowd cheered louder than ever, and Kara felt a sense of belonging and purpose unlike anything she'd experienced before. The festival continued late into the afternoon, culminating in the unveiling of a new initiative, the Lemonade Starter Fund. Using part of the donations raised from the gala and the festival, Kiara and her team had created a program to provide small grants to kids who wanted to start their own businesses. Whether it was a lemonade stand, a baking venture, or a lawn care service, the fund aimed to empower young entrepreneurs just like Kara. The first recipient was a 9-year-old boy named Jordan, who dreamed of starting a mobile dog washing business. Kiara presented him with a check, and as the crowd applauded, Jordan gave her a hug. "Thank you, Kara," he said. "I hope I can make people as happy as you've made them." As the sun began to set, the festival wound down. Kara sat on a picnic bench, sipping her own lemonade and watching families pack up their things. The park was quieter now, but the warmth of the day lingered. Doug and Sherry joined her, each holding cups of lemonade. Doug clinked his cup against Kara's. "You've done good, kid." "Thanks, Doug," Kara said, smiling. "But this is just the beginning." Sherry chuckled, spoken like a true road warrior. Back at home that evening, Kiara and her mom sat together on the couch, flipping through photos from the festival. Tasha glanced at her daughter and said, "You've created something incredible, Kiara. You should be so proud of yourself." Kiara leaned against her mom's shoulder. "I am. But I'm also excited. I feel like there's so much more we can do." Tasha kissed the top of her head. "And you will. You've got a gift, baby. Don't ever lose it." Kiara looked at the photo in her hands, a picture of herself in her new jacket, surrounded by the bikers, volunteers, and kids from the festival. It wasn't just a memory, it was a reminder of everything she had achieved, and everything still ahead. She smiled, her heart full of hope and determination. This is only the beginning.